Did you know that there's places on this earth where the veil between the spirit realm and the physical realm is very thin? What's up? My name is Phoenix and I can see into the spirit realm. First off, a little bit about my gift. I was compared to like the brightness setting on a phone, where I can turn it all the way down or turn it all the way up. Normally, if I have it turned all the way up, there's just so much going on in the spirit realm. It's like extra layer of reality that exists all around us that most people just don't have the senses to perceive. And it's like just crazy colors, blasts of weird energy around, like covering and surrounding people, and like demons and angels just swirling around and all these other crazy things. Normally keep it down pretty low. Only times I really amp it up is if I'm praying over someone, or if the Holy Spirit prompts me to look at something in the spirit, or look at someone in the spirit, or pray and ask him to show me what's going on spiritually. Being said, the Lord has had me travel a lot around the world. And there are certain places where this veil or whatever it is that separates the spirit realm from the physical realm is much thinner naturally. I didn't even have to turn up my gift and I was already just picking up and seeing things with my plain eyes. I'm from Arizona in the USA, and so I will say that Arizona, more than any other state in America, seems to be a thin place, the entire state. For some credentials, I've been to 43 of the 50 states in America, so I have had a lot of experiences in different places. Now, I grew up mostly in Arizona, but I did grow up some in Michigan and Iowa as well. And I had a lot of family in like West Virginia, Tennessee, Florida, and out of any other state, I noticed when living in Iowa and Michigan, I hardly ever had any supernatural encounter. Where in Arizona, it was just a regular, multiple times a day occurrence. It wasn't until I got older that I started realizing this. I was like, oh, so there's something about Arizona in particular. And in Arizona itself, there's several different locations where the veil is especially even thinner than the rest of Arizona. One of those is the most famous, and it's Sedona. For those of you that don't know, Sedona is like world famous for its beautiful red rocks and its vortexes, which scientists acknowledge but they can't explain. And for this reason, it's like a hotbed for New Agers and a lot of mystics and psychics and stuff because the veil is so thin there. There's also like an insane amount of UFO sightings and just a lot of other weird supernatural stuff that goes on there. I actually have a post about it on my page as well. Another one of these places that I've been to is Native American reservations. So growing up in Arizona, I used to live down south outside of between Queen Creek and Coolidge. So like literally the middle of the desert, especially when I was a kid. It's nothing. It was like our neighborhood in the middle of nowhere. And in our neighborhood, we lived on the very edge of the neighborhood. So in our backyard, like right over the brick wall was just desert. So like half a mile, not even a mile out, you hit a fence and then you'd be in the Native American reservation that was there. And me and my friends and my family said we'd go hiking out there all the time and stuff. Sometimes the hikes would be in the mountains or the deserts that were part of the reservation. And I remember even as a little kid, as soon as we would cross that line, it was just different. I could like see things physically, like, and normally it's like I can't see things physically unless I'm like turning up my gift, like I said. And it would just be like really intense there. Same in Sedona. This has happened too for several other Native American reservations I've been to around the Four Corners area in New Mexico, Colorado, in Wyoming, in Montana, and several other locations, in Oklahoma especially. I don't know why that is or why specifically all these areas that have been designated as Native American reservations, the veil is incredibly thin. If any of you guys have any insight on this, I would love to hear about it in the comments because this is something I've always been curious about. If it's something that like the Native Americans do to the land, if they're like it's some kind of practice that they do, or if it's like they chose that land specifically because the veil is thin, or if the government just happen to assign them coincidentally to these lands where the veil is spiritually thin. The place that I noticed where the veil is really, really thin, like almost thinner than anywhere else I've ever been, is the Arctic Circle. Earlier this year, up in February, I was in Lapland, Finland. I stayed a few days in the city of Rovaniemi, which if you look on a map is right on the border of what they call the border of the Arctic Circle. Like literally half the town is above it and half the town is underneath it. Do not, like literally in the town, as soon as I would cross that border, like that they considered to be the North Pole or like the Arctic Circle, the veil is so thin. Like I was seeing things plain as day, clearer than I've ever seen them anywhere else spiritually. Literally with my physical eyes, I would see the things without even having to tap in or pray or like try to see in the spirit. And then as soon as I would cross the border in the town that was below the Arctic Circle, it would just go back to normal. I haven't been anywhere else in the Arctic Circle besides there in Lapland, Finland, but I'm assuming it's the same everywhere else around the world in the Arctic Circle. Another place where the veil is typically usually very thin is on the top of mountains. And this is very interesting because in almost every single ancient culture around the world, mountains have always been revered as a meeting place of the gods. Even see this in the Bible when Moses or Elijah or several other prophets, they wanted to see God and experience him or hear from him, they would go to a mountaintop. Another place that I noticed where the veil is really thin is Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. Really, really thin there as well. around the entire lake. And it's like in that lake, there was like a giant portal where things were just coming in and out of constantly. And that's another really big new agey spot. But something I want to emphasize with you guys is that these places where the veil is thin doesn't just mean that it's closer to the demonic realm. It also is closer to the angelic and heavenly realm as well. I think a lot of people demonize these places where the veil is thin because these places are hotbeds for witches and new age and all these other occultic practices and religions. It's just because all these other religions and practices actually tap into the spirit realm, where Christians, we just completely ignore it. That's not how it's meant to be, guys. We see this in the Bible. The Bible is full of supernatural and spiritual encounters. For too long, the entire Christian church has just demonized the entire spirit realm. And it's only the occultists and the dark kingdom of darkness that are actively operating in the spirit and in these places where the veil is thinner. I think it's very high time that Christians, we step up as believers and also take advantage of these places where the veil is spiritually thin and are not scared of them, rather use our authority in Jesus Christ to claim dominion over these places spiritually and physically, help draw in the heavenly realm and God's presence more than the kingdom of darkness is being pulled into our physical realm. If any of you guys have any more insight onto why these specific places are like this, I would love to hear about it in the comments. As always, God bless you guys.